I'd like to call the February 22nd meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council to order at 2:26 p.m. We're going to suspend the roll call and the prayer. The Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer, since we previously did that. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. At this time, I'd like to offer a motion to add an item to the executive session of the agenda, specifically Plaquemines Parish Council versus Plaquemines Parish President, docket number 64-047, Division D, 25th JDC. Can I get a second on that motion? Seconded by Councilmember Edgecombe. Any comment from the public on adding this motion? Hearing none, machine is open. Let the record reflect that this item is added to the agenda under executive session by a vote of 9-0. Ms. Barber, can you read the executive sessions, please?
6A1, Midway Cattle Ranch LLC et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Government, USDC-EDLA 2:17-CV-07468, Attorney Peter Barbay, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. Number 2, in regard oil spill by the oil rig MDL number 2179 Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico on April 20, 2010, United States District Court, Eastern District of Louisiana, Section J. This document related to Judge Barbier to number 11-916, Magistrate Judge Wilkinson, Attorney Peter Barbay, Councilmember Lapine. Number 3, Plaquemines Parish Civil Service Commission and Civil Service Director Ellen Barrios versus Plaquemines Parish Council and Plaquemines Parish Government, 4th Circuit Court of Appeal, number 2017-CA-0449, Attorney Danny Garrett, Councilmember Black. Number 4, Charles J. Ballet et al. Versus Amos J. Cormier III et al., 25th JDC case number 63-488, Division A, Attorney Peter Barbay, Councilmember Black. Number 5, Plaquemines Parish Council versus Plaquemines Parish President, docket number 64-047, Division A, 25th JDC, Attorney Danny Garrett, Councilmember Williams.
At this time, there's no comment or objection to executive session. Let's open the machine. I'll offer the executive session. Can I get a second? Seconded by Ms. Edgecombe. Machine is open. Executive session is past 9-0. We'll move into executive session at 2:29 p.m. Back to order at 3:34 p.m. Coming out of executive session with no legal or binding action taken. At this time, we'll move to agenda item 1C. We have no proclamations. Ms. Barber.
Status report by the Parish President.
Hold up, Mr. Cormier. Okay.
Good afternoon. For the record, this is Parish President Amos Cormier's status report for the time period February 12th through the 22nd of 2018. On Monday, February 12th, I had a meeting with the chairman of the CPRA, and those negotiations continue ongoing. I stated that at the last council meeting my concerns, some of which were illustrated in the book Rising Tide, but they can be summarized as this: that without money being set aside in escrow to ensure that our commercial seafood industry would receive proper mitigation, and that our other concerns would be addressed, that this administration has issues with that. On Monday, February 12th, that afternoon, met with Miss Patty McCarty. She had some ideas regarding economic development. As this council knows, Plaquemines Parish is the only parish in the region that does not have an economic development department, and we were considering ways in which possibly we could work with volunteers and or some sort of combination of work arrangements. Tuesday was Mardi Gras, and I hope you all had a good one. On Wednesday, February 14th, had a conference call with our IT guy, Mr. Jelpe, and with InfoSite. And the topic of the conference call was the renewal of the contract for computer security. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I know we've had several issues, but my email account, there were numerous attempts to hack into it. And we know that because I was locked out of, my password was locked up, and that's what the computer system does automatically, and to protect the account. That topic was covered in the discussion with InfoSite. Approximately a day or two later, subpoenas were served. Subpoena duces tecum was served on me by the district attorney's office, but I'll let parish attorney, he can talk about that later. The one issue that came up with the contract renewal of the contract was that InfoSite has since now split into two companies. One is InfoSite, and then now they have a subsidiary company that does the service. And so Mr. Jelpe is working on that because they're requesting a higher fee from when you put the two together. Now the price has gone up. We will keep you informed on that. On Thursday, February 15th, I had a productive meeting with Chairwoman Williams regarding the Boothville Venice Community Center, and I think we all had an opportunity to speak with the engineers on that project and discuss how that was moving. On Friday, February 16th, I had a meeting with our lobbyist, Mr. Vitter, one of the senior staffer from Senator Kennedy's office, Jeff Green, as well as Council Members Burt, Council Members Roussel. Was anyone else there? Our Coastal Director, Mr. Vince Frelish, Mr. Paul Matthews, and I think Mr. Kyle Ruckert, in which we discussed some of the issues that we just recently brought up during the port meeting about obtaining the funding for Baptiste Colette. It was a productive meeting, and I did sign a letter, and that was sent off to the Corps regarding the integrated feasibility study and draft environmental assessment for Baptiste Colette and the navigation and channel deepening, the Section 203 study. So that letter was sent off. Also that evening, we had the first of the Lenten fish fries at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church, and I think they had one also at St. Patrick's in Port Sulphur. And these are wonderful community events, and there's always good food, good time to be had there. On Monday, February 19th, we had the pre-council meeting. I'd like to thank Council Members Roussel, Council Members Trufant, Council Member Juneau, and Council Member Bartholomew for attending. Those meetings are I think, helpful, and they help us cover topics and give us a chance to dialogue and discuss matters. On Tuesday, February 20th, we had a meeting with our our engineer, Mr. Ken Dugai, our director, Dr. Giles, and some of the representatives from Inframark regarding the Entergy transmission pole project, which is running through Jesuit Bend. Inframark has found a couple areas where there are believed to be leaks, and we will not release the retainage on those contracts until we have those matters addressed. One, to determine if there are leaks, and then two, to determine and make sure those leaks get fixed, if they do indeed turn out to be leaks. On Tuesday, February 20th as well, I attended and spoke at the Plaquemines Parish Civil Service Commission meeting, and I want to thank them for their collaboration with this council and with this administration. Their concern was that as this council passed Ordinance 18-13, which was to make retroactive the 3% pay raise for the employees who hadn't received one in over 3 years. Some of them expressed concerns as to that this might potentially violate some of the civil service rules, because there should be a merit increase, but prior to a cost of living increase, and numerous other vagaries of the civil service rules. Fortunately, though, with the collaboration of the civil service, they passed an amendment, and in that amendment, they deemed it to be a cost of living increase. The exact date, they would make it go back to give full force to this council's legislation. I think the date was January 1, 2018. So that we, with the collaboration of civil service, we resolved that issue in a satisfactory manner according to this council's wishes. So I want to thank them for that. The administration had requested an exceptions for emergency pay rate hikes, especially as regards CDL, commercial driver's license positions, because as you remember, I think our pay rate there was a little bit over $25,000 a year, and we've been struggling to attract drivers with CDL at that low pay rate. So they said they were going to look into that and make the proper adjustments as called for. They also agreed that they would do the same for mechanics. In the mechanics issue, they were going to redesignate, and they voted on this, 4 different types of classifications of mechanics. Most of this has been driven by, unlike in days past, where you would have a diesel engine that, as long as you understood the internal combustion engine, you could work on it. Nowadays, with a lot of the computer technology, the fuel injection technology, there's a need for the complexity of these engines has grown, and so there's a need to create distinguishing classifications, and also correlative pay rate hikes to try to attract that talent so that we can save money. This is a measure that will save the parish money in the long run, because when you send tractors or any of our heavy equipment out to be worked upon, what we get charged is always higher than what paying someone in-house to do those repairs. I also would like to request, it was brought to my attention, we have some strong, one big disparity in pay rate among superintendents. I'd like to mitigate that disparity for the superintendent from Solid Waste South to bring it more on par with the other superintendent. There will be another fish fry, same places tomorrow. Well, at this point, we had, I'll let the parish attorney discuss the case, yet another lawsuit filed, piece of litigation filed by District Attorney Charles Ballet.
As you all are aware, there was a mandamus that ordered the parish president to sign a contract for the building, which is the subject of 5B today. The writ had gone up to the Fourth Circuit after we were ordered to sign a contract that the parish president objected to signing without an ordinance backing it up or actually appropriating the money. The Fourth Circuit, for some reason, I'm not quite sure I understand why, on December 13th, denied our writ. Usually we have 30 days to file a Supreme Court writ. Just so the council and public's aware of what happened, between that, Councilman Lapine put his proposed ordinance in to move the money to fund that building. That was before this council on January 11th. It did not pass. It was deferred until January 25th and then February 8th. In that meanwhile, we were under an order to sign this contract, and out of respect and trying to get what the council wanted to do with this, we waited. There was nothing in that order that said how long we had to sign it. There's no ordinances that tell you how long by statute you have to sign it. There's nothing in the case law that even says what's a reasonable time within to sign it. I gave the parish president the advice that I thought he should wait and see what the council would do, and it was not passed. So on February 9th, he signed it, which we then had to cancel the contract because it was not funded. So if anybody has any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's basically what happened. And I believe that same ordinance is on today.
And finally, I'm proud to announce that the Plaquemines Parish Library at Port Sulphur, that contract was, as we stated, was signed and was filed with the Clerk of Court, the 25th JDC, and also the Lake Hermitage Road project contract was filed with the Plaquemines Parish Clerk of Court. And with that, Chairwoman Williams, I leave my time.
Okay. I just have just to make a comment so the public knows in regards to the Buford Community Center, demolition was scheduled to begin on Monday. They haven't actually started demolition, but they have moved in portalettes and some dumpsters and things of that nature, so that's well on its way, and they have until, I think it's May 20th to finalize the demolition. And in regards to the meeting that we had with we're in the, as far as the reconstruction goes, finalizing the plans of the reconstruction for that project. So that's a big need for the community of Boothville Venice. With that being said, I'll open up. Anyone have any questions or comments? Ms. Salvant?
Mr. President, I thank you for mentioning the projects that's moving forward in my district. You mentioned the elevation of the Lake Hermitage Road and the ribbon cutting of Port Sulphur Library, and you failed to mention the dredging project. The dredge project is online. I had a conversation with Mr. Vince and met with Mr. Dugas this week, and everything is moving forward. They're going out to bid, and all three of these projects has been major. This has been my major projects in my district. And I just want to thank the administration and all of the staff for all of the hard work and effort, and my colleagues for the support and moving these projects along. They're well worthwhile projects. All of these projects is in relationship to damages that was incurred from Katrina. So we are 12 years in the making for addressing these projects. So this is monumental for me. So my request to you to be that you establish some type of press release when these projects come online. Have your PIO officer to get with the local news media, because I'm looking for this to be a big deal. We're not gonna just slip this past this on the rug. We're gonna do a big deal with this because I think it's worthwhile.
Thank you, Ms. Audrey.
Thank you.
Mr. Lapine?
Excuse me. Mr. Beshel, there was a comment made in the last couple of meetings about the excess pipe that was back on Barry Road, and you sent out an email, and I just want to thank you for your due diligence, going out there and evaluating the situation, see how many. I do have the list of all that you sent me in email. Could you explain to me what is a type of a CMP pipe? Corrugated metal pipe. Okay, so can that pipe be used, I guess, at the southern end of the parish where the salt water comes in, or that's the pipe that we're not really want to put down there?
Well, Mr. Dugas does not want to use it anywhere where it's going to have salt water intrusion on it, because it's going to rot sooner or later. So he'd like to use it in places, up here mostly. So I think that's what we're probably trying to do.
Okay, and by tallying, I guess I added them all up. So we have close to 271 pieces of pipe.
Right,
Extra.
almost over a mile of pipe.
Over a mile of pipe that we have extra. So what was the pipe that we would put down the road where the saltwater intrusion would come?
It's going to be plastic pipe.
So we would have to
PVC.
order some of all that?
Yes.
Okay, so we couldn't put that in Myrtle Grove, or, I mean, we wouldn't be advised to put that in Myrtle Grove or
No.
anywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
as history proves, no.
Okay. But any kind of project or something that we had up here or the northern end of the parish,
We
we
can
could
use it, yes.
Okay, because I don't
But
want to
we
go out
do-
and say we need to order more. I know the difference now, the two different pipes. I don't want to go out and say, well, we need more pipe when we're sitting on a mile of pipe up here.
Right, but we do have some places in districts up here that they put up pipe, but it's not the type of pipe we have here, that we're having problems with. Some of Mr. Roussel's and down by Myrtle Grove also.
Okay.
That's rotting, and we have sinkholes, so it's going to have to be replaced, but it's not the same type of pipe.
All right. Well, thank you for getting that information to us correctly. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I have to say that Ken Dugas and his crew helped do that, so thank you very much.
Mr. Edgecombe?
Yes, Mr. President, I know you briefed on solid waste south a minute ago. Do you know if Civil Service is in the process or has removed the requirement for CDL driver license for a compactor operator?
It's a good question, Councilman Edgecombe. Right now, I just can't recall.
I know that was mentioned a few meetings before. I know it was brought to Civil Service's attention to get that removed. Therefore, we could get a compactor operator that didn't have CDL license. And it's much needed in solid waste south.
I agree.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the table? Audience? Next item, please.
Bids and advertisements.
There are none. Next item.
Beer and liquor licenses.
Mr. Bartholomew? Mr. Black?
Yeah, I have one. Blackman Social Aid and Pleasure Club, P.O. Box 355, Belle Chase, Louisiana 70037, for 225 333 F. Boulevard, club fundraiser for 323 through 324.
Mr. Lapine? Mr. Juneau?
Okay, this is at Highway 9385, Highway 23. It's the Dollar General store, and it's for 1 year.
I have two. DG Louisiana LLC, trade name Dollar General Store, number 11338, located at 36749 Highway 11, Buras, Louisiana. It's a alcohol license renewal. Also for DG Louisiana LLC, located at 42670 Highway 23, Venice, it's Dollar General Store, number 13242. It's also an alcohol renewal? Mr. Russo?
None.
Mr. Burt? I have none. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I have one alcohol renewal. Is Dollar General Store, 10841-26715 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Anthony Henry Jr., 110 East Street, Belchase, Louisiana, but it's going to take place in Port Sulphur. It's a fundraiser for a scholarship program. The date is March 31st, 18, beginning at 10 o'clock a.m. Louis Thompson, this is the fishing rodeo for Grand Bayou, April 7, 2018, P.O. Box 772, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. That's it.
Mr. Edgecombe?
I have none, ma'am.
Okay, I'll offer these permits. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Questions or comments from the audience? Machine is open. Beer and liquor license permits passed 9-0. Next item, please.
Building permits, construction permits.
Anyone has any objections to taking them in globo? 4A1 through 3? And then we can take B, C, and D in globo.
4A1, Plains Marketing LP application number 2017-549, dated August 3, 2017. Excavate trench to expose an existing 30-inch crude oil pipeline for assessment and potential repairs, 165 Marathon Lane, Venice, Councilmember Williams. Chevron Pipeline Company, application number 2018-79, dated February 9, 2018. Install valve and maintenance on existing 20-inch Breton Sound pipeline, May Pass Area Block 22, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 3, CNC Marina Repair, application number 2018-85, dated February 8, 2018. Install 14 48-inch diameter steel monopiles for barge mooring, 701 Engineer Road, Belchase, Councilmember Roussel.
I'll offer these permits. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Russo. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Construction permits passes 8-0 with Mr. Black not voting. Next items, please. B, C, and D, the fireworks renewals. Let's take them in globo, please.
B, C, and E, okay. Ducks Fireworks, fireworks stand renewal 7010 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana, Councilmember Roussel. Ducks Fireworks, fireworks stand renewal 9127 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana, Councilmember Juneau. Sandra Gongri.
No. B, C, and
And D, oh, I'm sorry, D. Ducks Fireworks, fireworks stand renewal 9590 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana, Councilmember Juneau.
Mr. Juneau, do you offer? Get a second? Seconded by Mr. Roussel. Questions or comments from the table or the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. What? I think the machine messed up, huh? Okay, can y'all enter y'all votes again, please? It didn't take the... It was like none of us voted. The fireworks stands renewals passes 8-0 with Mr. Black not voting. He's away from the table. 4E, please.
Sandra Gongri, camper trailer in R-1C, 6 months temporary due to fire, 205 Broad Street, Belchase, Louisiana, Councilmember Juneau.
Mr. Juneau, you off? Mr. Juneau offers. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Roussel. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Mr. Black is still absent from the table. Item 5, please.
Introductions of ordinances and resolutions.
Mr. Bartholomew.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have several. A resolution declaring certain schools and churches is to be historical structures worthy of preservation and recognition, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend as amended and readopt Article 3, Section 8-60 of the Plaquemine Parish Code of Ordinance and alter construction permit fees in the coastal zone and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance approving the assignment of Drives 2004 Exploration LP as assigner to Kern Energy LLC, assignee covering 2 oil and gas and mineral leases identified as Plaquemine Tract 08-1 and Parish Tract 10-2, and authorizes that the parish president execute and approve the consent of the assignment and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance approving the assignment for the offshore company as assigner to Kern Energy LLC as assignee covering 2 oil and gas mineral leases identified as Parish Tract 08-1 and Parish Tract 10-2, authorizing that the parish president execute and approve the consent of assignment, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Black?
None.
None. Mr. Lapine? No. Juno? I have several. A resolution declaring the Mount Olive Baptist Church to be a historical structure worthy of preservation and recognition and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to provide for the acceptance of donations by the donations to the Fort Jackson Museum and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Parks and Monuments Department, Fort Jackson Division, and the 2018 General Fund Operating Revenue Budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2018 Operating Revenue and Expenditures Budget, Homeland Security / Emergency Preparedness Grant Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Finance and Purchasing Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Revenue and Operating Expenditures Budget, Judges, 25th JDC, Division B, and Juvenile Division Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Russo?
None.
Mr. Byrd?
I have none.
Ms. Salvant?
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe?
Thank you.
I have none, ma'am.
At this time, just want to let everyone know that item 6A2 will be deferred, and item 6B will be withdrawn from the agenda. Everything else will either be discussed or voted on at this time. Let's move to item 6A1, Ms. Barbara.
An ordinance to regulate the hunting, fishing, trapping, and other recreation on public lands owned or controlled by the Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Byrd? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Russo?
Yes. This is the ordinance that we are waiting on a meeting with certain individuals from the District Attorney's Office and Wildlife and Fisheries. I'll offer for discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
Have we have any idea when we're going to meet?
Who's initiating it, him?
Can't
He's
hear it.
initiating the meeting?
So you're going to try to set something up, right?
I'll try to get it done the next week.
That'll be fine. Thank you. I'll defer the item.
This item has been deferred. 6C,
An ordinance to appropriate the sum of blank from all oil, natural gas, and mineral revenues received by the Plaquemine Parish government from public lands granted to the Grand Prairie Levee District for the parish president to employ and fund the the employment of personnel necessary to carry out the duties and responsibilities and charges on revenues derived from those lands composing of the Grand Prairie Levy District for all the purposes set out in acts of the Louisiana Legislature, the Charter for Local Self-Government for Plaquemines Parish adopted by election held on May 13, 1961, and in the amending and reenactment of the Charter for Local Self-Government, so amended and reenacted by election held on April 5, 1986, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Bartholomew?
I'd like to offer for discussion only.
Mr. Bartholomew offers for discussion. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, anybody at the table have any questions or comment? I'm not ready to move on this today, but it's the intent is for us to understand that we have some responsibility in monitoring the funding from the levy districts and make sure that we are abreast of what's going on is being used according to the state legislature. The money, the lands that have been donated for, and that we are following those procedures intact, and that we meet periodically to review and to also assign funding whenever need be. So that's just the intent right now. So I don't know if anybody have any other comments, any questions relative to that, because we haven't been meeting as a district of the levy districts. We need to set meetings as the council set itself, but long we identify ourselves as that point in time as the governing authority over the levy district, this Grand Prairie Levy District.
Mr. Roussel has a comment.
Yes, is the administration working towards the goal of identifying the revenue from the levy districts independently? So this will be accomplished by Mr. Bartholomew. It's my opinion, that we are using these monies and probably are short some monies, but the question is, are you identifying what revenues come from which levy district?
I'll request that Finance gets with Rogers and Elston, who I think would have that data.
Thank you.
Mr. Bartholomew?
If no other question, I'll defer.
Okay. This item will be deferred. 6D.
6D, a resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to work with Atmos Gas Company to reinstall gas lines at Point Lahash, the Lower East Bank and West Bank, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Bartholomew?
I offer as read.
Mr. Bartholomew offers, and I'll second. Mr. Bartholomew? Just
It's very simple. We're just asking the administration to look into that. And I asked the council to support that and giving him the authority to move forward.
any questions or comments from the table? Wait 1 second, Ms. Audrey. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Audrey.
Yes, Mr. Bartholomew, do you know the geographics of this, the locations of this gas line when you mentioned the lower end?
He means all the way down, I believe. Is that what you're referring to, the entire parish
Yeah. We don't have, I know you don't have gas on the lower end.
or the East Bank?
I don't
South
know.
of Port Selford, there's a certain point in Port Selford.
I think it's below certain areas of Port Selford South.
Yeah, but there's no gas in Ironton either.
Well, let's even go further than that then. Now, do they have gas in between Ironton and Port Selford?
No, Murder Grove doesn't have gas either.
No, I'm saying south of Ironton, north, but below the Point Lash Ferry. Do you have gas in that area?
Oh, no.
They don't?
Yes, they do. They do
okay.
have in certain
Certain
areas.
areas in Port
Certain
Selford does
areas
have
they
gas.
do.
Yeah.
But
So anyway, we're looking at to do it for the whole parish as well, and
Right.
to let them look into that. And I don't know why would they bypass that and shoot right down the road and offer that to them.
Very same reason it
Yeah.
depends the cable also.
I'm sorry, the cable?
Yes.
I don't even have cable, so I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have cable down.
They've been excommunicated me from cable.
Ms. Edgecombe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The actual gas line goes down to Daybrook
Okay.
Fisheries. That's as far as I know that it goes.
But it's in between, according to what Ms. Audrey was
There are
saying.
a couple of residents
It's missing in there.
in Empire and Narren that does still have gas. Yes, sir.
So I think you may need to re-identify your legislation by saying Lower East Bank.
Well, Lower East Bank, it is the Lower East Bank from
Lower
Phoenix
East Bank
South.
and West Bank, you're referring to the lower.
Lower West Bank, but I think anybody that's south of Jesuit Bend is lower.
Okay.
Ms.
I beg your pardon? I can't.
He said south of the wall.
The wall? What's the wall?
Mr. Roussel?
Start the wall, Charlie.
Mr. Bartholomew, I would request that you prepare some ordinance to ask the cable company to extend their services so you can watch these council meetings.
Oh, I'm here every day, apps.
That's a
I
great-
fought that battle many times. It didn't prevail, no kind of assistance. Maybe we'll do it next time. I'll introduce it at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? You want to move on this, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, you have a question from the audience.
Oh, yes, sir. State your name, please, for the record.
After Hurricane Katrina, when my dad, he wanted to get back down the road real quick, and we bought a manufactured home, and we actually, had that down there before he got his FEMA trailer. But we ordered it with natural gas, figuring that they were going to replace the natural gas. To me, it's just like the electricity, And so we had to, change the order and, get electric, heat and everything in it. And, but it seems like, at the time, more should have been done to make sure they put that gas back. We had gas lines. I talked to Atmos, and they said, well, everybody's getting trailers, and they're hooking up electricity. It's not going to be, it's not going to be worth it for us to put, that's not the point, Just like they they have to put the electricity back, they should have been required to, and, maybe some of the parish government should have, at the time, maybe push them to do it, But just saying that, they should have never been allowed not to put that gas back and tell me that, well, we're not going to make enough money on it, And not to sound like a conspiracy theorist or something, but maybe some of the Move the Parish Seat crowd was kind of, like not wanting to make it, make things where people wouldn't move back over there, or, and just saying, now it might be too late, but they need to put that gas back. My brother took out the house that we grew up in, even though it floated, a couple of blocks in front of the swimming pool down in Davant. He managed to move it onto his property, and right now he's got the same central heat system that was in that house. I guess it's by a propane tank, and he's got that thing, running right now with that, and I just don't like the idea of people. Well, nobody's going to move back over there no more, or we like it's. I think there's almost like an effort to hold it down. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
I think that the government, and I'll let Mr. Roussel elaborate since he was the parish president at the time, I think that they did reach out to Atmos, and it was Atmos's decision that it wouldn't be, like you said, beneficial to them. They wouldn't have enough residents on the lower end and on the East Bank in order to provide those services. But I'll let Mr. Roussel elaborate on that a little bit.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I don't know, what efforts were made after I left office. I left office 14 months after Rita. But I can assure you there was no conspiracy theory during my administration to prevent anybody from going anywhere in the parish. We worked diligently to pump the water out a couple of times, once after Katrina, once after Rita. We also worked diligently to get people back into their homes. Now, Atmos decided not to go down on their own nickel, and that's what they were telling us. We emphatically requested gas extension, just as we emphatically required energy to go down. And I think that the proper venue for your request should be at the Public Service Commission, who regulates Atmos. I think we could get some traction there. But to make you feel a lot better 16 years later, or however many years we are down the road, there was no conspiracy to keep you from going home after Katrina or Rita. Well, you did say it, so I'm going to address it.
Any other comments or questions on this item?
Yeah, just to really put this in perspective, I think I was the councilman for that remainder of Katrina, and that wasn't long. It was very short. And we were under state of emergency. Everything was in chaos. Then the new administration came in thereafter. But besides the point, this is the problem that I came up with dealing with the last state of emergency, not a state of emergency, but emergency on the East Bank and the freeze that we had. We are out of power for 26 hours. If we would have had gas, it would have been more feasible for people to live in their homes, to protect themselves, a way of life, to pursue that they don't get sick, and possibly people could have died. The older people, really, if we didn't maintain some kind of communication with them, because I got up at 1 o'clock that morning, and physically, along with Auburn Tinson, the warden, we made visits to check on those people. Now, can you imagine if it had extended beyond 26 hours? You know, and if we had gas, we all right. We can live without electricity for a period of time, but we cannot live without heat when it's cold. So that really spiked the issue at hand because of that, because there's no other alternative. And we didn't even have a state of emergency plan in action. But hopefully we have, through the 911 and to Homeland Security, coming up with a plan of action, if it ever happens again. Pray to God it does not happen. But this is the reason why we need to have the gas, and we're going to get what, as Mr. Roussel suggested, get the commission involved and plight the case. And if nothing else is to be said, Ms. Chairman, we call for the vote. Question?
Mr. Russo has a comment.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly support this resolution to get you your gas, and call a question.
Question has been called. Machine is open. Resolution passes 9-0. Next item.
E, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier III to expend Sandy Recovery Initiative Act funds from PW 20914 in order to allow for the bidding on the construction of a baseball complex and multipurpose closed pavilion located at the Government Complex, 333 F. Edward Hebert Boulevard, Belle Chase, Louisiana 70037, for improvement and advancement of the parish-wide recreation department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Black.
I'd like to offer, and I would like to ask for a unanimous second.
Yes, sir. You
Unanimous.
have it from me.
No objection by me.
Okay. Seconded unanimously. Mr. Black.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my colleagues for this. We've had a lot of discussion. This has been going on for probably about 3 years now. As far as, I know when we first came in office, Mr. Burton and I got together and looked at the plans. We looked at them with the former parish president, Amos Cormier Jr., and went through them quite a bit. We found a lot of deficiencies in what was done. Subsequent to that, the pavilion was built and finished, and it really hasn't been utilized the way I think it was intended, and it's very well underutilized. So we looked at the funding. We tried to move the funds to different locations. We were told that we could not move those funds, that these funds were specific to the complex that were granted in 2014 under Sandy Recovery Initiative Act. So we went back to the table and said, how can we utilize these funds in a better way to make it more beneficial for the entire parish? Speaking with my colleagues, we made a decision to, instead of building a huge baseball complex, is to split that project up and build one of the best complexes we could build, which would be 4 fields, and use the remainder of the funds to enclose the entire pavilion and make it into a multi-purpose area, which would consist of 4 full-size basketball courts, a stage area, a multi-purpose area, and we think we can get that all done with these remaining funds. So, I want to thank my colleagues for their help in getting this thing redone, and I would encourage the parish president to let's get together if this passes today immediately with Mr. Dugas and have this thing redesigned. And I thank Mr. Barbe as well for redoing the bond language, which kind of held us up the first go-round. And Shane, yeah, thank you, Shane. And get that quad at least back out to bid. And I don't think we'll have much issues with design on the pavilion. So hopefully we can have parish-wide recreation activities. I would say basketball by next year, and then the softball and baseball the following. That's all I have.
I want to thank you, Mr. Black, for your initiative on this. I'm in full support of this, and as some of the residents in my area have stated, why in Belle Chase? You know, what about the lower end? What about the East Bank? I look at this project as a revenue generator. Being involved in travel ball, being around, traveling to numerous states, I've seen the people that flock to these tournaments. This is something that will benefit the entire parish because the funds will go into the recreation department for parish-wide use with the upkeep and maintenance of the fields throughout the parish. So I'm in full support of this, and again, I thank you, Mr. Black, for your initiative, and Mr. Bird, and everyone else that has worked on this, because if we don't utilize these funds for what these projects were designated, we will lose them. So this is a great accomplishment that we can partake in. Mr. Roussel?
Yeah, I said, and the best thing about this is I want to thank the administration for embracing the project. So now we're all on the same page. We can move forward and get this project built. And this is a project I think that will be beneficial for many, many years. So with the conflict that we have, this is one that we don't have any conflict on. Thank you.
Ms. Salvant?
Yes. I came here prepared today to rebut just about everything that this project stands for. I spent a lot of hours considering the project. In spite of what others may say, the bottom line is those funds was appropriated as a result of Katrina Rita funds. My position haven't changed on the idea, the prospect, but in the spirit of cooperation, I support the unanimous second, and I'm going to vote in a positive of this legislation. But my mother always told me from a child that they can tie your hands, they can perhaps tie your hands and put blinders on your eyes, but it does not change the fact of your interpretation of the event. And upon that comment, I rest my case, and I will be supporting the legislation.
Mr. Lapine?
He was before.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, get back in the queue, Mr.
But I mean, I don't know.
I'm sorry. It was my mistake.
Is this the time
Right
changing in the times?
No,
we look
sir.
alike. We look alike. That's the problem.
No, sir. No, sir. No.
I just want to know.
No, you're the same hair color.
Okay, my concern is that I even made contact to Washington D.C., the original legislators, two of them that did the legislation in D.C. for the funding, the Sandy Act fund, and also contacted the person responsible for making the implementation at the state level. And the monies, once a project has been approved with that fund, it cannot be changed. It has to stay. So it was already determined back when it was appropriated for that project. So we have to understand we can't change that. Rather than lose it, support it. With the understanding that this council understand there are other areas of needs in this parish. The Port Salford area, the Burris and Bootville area, and the East Bank area of gymnasiums that is needed to support recreation. There are fields throughout the parish that need to be renovated and updated to support Belche's program. And all those things is a unity of us being accepting the responsibility that we won't leave anything undone or unturned to make sure that all kids in Plaquemine have that opportunity that we desire so much, to be free to participate at any given level. Not just the traveling team, but throughout their lives as young people to participate. Because traveling teams, from understanding, I may be wrong, you have to be a superstar to make that team to go throughout the different competitions. But we are addressing the needs of all of our children. And that's why I hope that this council take an attitude that we're just beginning. That's all I have to say, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lapine?
Mr. Jr.?
No, you were ahead of him. You got out of line.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Councilman Black and Burt for their hard work, especially Councilman Black. This project has taken more turns and curves that I've ever seen, but he stuck with it. We redesigned it. I think it's going to utilize two different entities in baseball and in basketball. I'm glad that he never gave up on it, and we're here. So today, when this passes 9-0, Mr. Cormier, I'm going to use a pun and say, play ball, sign the contract, and let's move forward.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman Lapine, and believe me, I look forward to getting this baseball complex and pavilion done.
Mr. Juneau?
Yes. I wouldn't have voted for this if it was just for baseball. But they make in the pavilion, we went and looked at it. Mr. Black had great ideas, and we decided we were going to do the pavilion also. And with the pavilion, they can also play soccer inside. They can play anything inside that pavilion. That pavilion was just sitting there being used for a certain couple people. Now it's going to be used for every kid in Plaquemines Parish. Thank you.
Mr. Burt?
I'd just like to mention this real quick. I think there's some other opportunities that may exist. And Mr. Black, I believe you've already made contact with Mr. Morris regarding soccer and the PAC program maybe shutting down and relocating to another area. So I think we have an excellent opportunity to develop and expand a soccer program in the green space that was once used or utilized, was going to be used for the second quad. So we have lots of opportunities there. And again, Bo, thanks for your efforts here. Appreciate it.
You have something?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Cormier.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Burt, for those comments. And just elaborating upon that, I omitted also at the PAB function last night, Mr. Morris and I did talk about that. And so I'm looking forward to trying to work out an arrangement with PAC to further recreation in the parish.
Any more questions or comments from the table? Anyone in the audience? Mr. Henry?
Yes. On the agenda, they have a closed pavilion. Are you having a gymnasium or are you having a closed pavilion? I'm on the ground by what you have on the agenda. Is it a closed pavilion, wide, open, or is it a gymnasium? I don't know.
Yeah, let me just explain that. So I did have to look up the term on multi-purpose closed pavilion, so we don't change it from the project scope, because it just says pavilion. We're taking a pavilion could be open or closed. So it's just a term of reference. But it's gonna be a closed building.
A full-fledged gymnasium.
Full-fledged, what we plan on doing with the $2.5 million is enclosing the entire building, fully enclosed, removing 10 of the 12 garage-style doors, putting insulation, putting multi-purpose flooring, putting walling to separate the stage area and the office area, and then putting HVAC. So it's going to be one of the largest gymnasiums.
You going to have seating in there also?
Yeah, we'll have seating. There'll be netting to close off if we have different events. It's in all sense of the words, it's going to be a true multi-purpose center, whether it be wrestling, soccer, indoor soccer, volleyball, basketball, dance, anything.
It's been a long time coming. I'm glad it came. One other thing I got is about part of the gymnasium. It's going to be used for adult recreation also, isn't it?
I think
not just for.
No, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think that
it should be.
No, I think so. I think the way it should.
But I need to get that out,
No, once we get it built.
Yeah.
I definitely think we should have adult programs available for rental or adult leagues, things like that, so we can generate revenue.
Wait. Hold up. Now, that's where you lose me at. That's where you lose me at. You said generate revenue. So you're not going to be able to just go into the gym and play?
No, I'm saying there could be multiple types of things.
I'm saying if I just want to go walk in the gym and play, am I going to be able to just, am I got to pay $5, $10? Like,
I don't know. That's
well, wait. If the public fund paying for this, I don't think we should have to pay no fee to go play basketball, man. I really don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something the council.
Just like the YMCA Bowl, let's get this straight. You're building something supposed to be for recreation. But recreation is, hey, I'm paying taxes here like everybody else. This is a public funded deal here. Why should I be able to go in there and play without paying a quarter? It's not the why, But I want to get that straight with the public now while we're here. Because this is bad, man. If this only just for profit, I don't see why this is going to benefit people who just want to go have recreation. Come on, let's talk about it.
Utilized for many things. If there's not an event scheduled, it can be open to the public. I just think that, we don't need to keep all our eggs in one basket. We need to utilize it in every aspect.
Yeah, but
because like we said, there's other areas of the parish that need field improvements and things of that nature. This is going to be a recreational facility, and I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying, and I don't think we should limit anything.
What are we paying taxes for? What are you using government funds, public funds? If I'm from the public, live in this parish, I can't go in the gym and play.
No one said you can't. That just hasn't been determined yet.
Well, we need to get that straight, though. What you mean? Everybody said, no one said you can't, but no one said you could either. Come on, we need to get that straight up front. Look, I've been waiting on this gym for a long time. Ever since Benny was president, I've been waiting on this gym for a long time. Yeah. And I've been, Mr. Nungesser, all those guys, I've been with this gym for a long time. When Benny got that money from Chevron or from BP, I thought we were going to get a gymnasium. Didn't happen. YMCA got it. Understand what I'm saying?
We're getting off topic. We talking about?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, when this pavilion is built, are people from the parish, from the public, going to be able to go in there and play free of charge? That's my point here, man.
I will say this. I will pledge this to you, and this is what I can pledge to you from my position, because I have to work with the administration on that.
Yes.
With my other colleagues on the council, is that once this project gets underway, and we know there's an end date, I will start with legal to draft legislation on fees, usage, times, etc., to make it uniformed across the board, which I think we have some already. It's like a kid wants to go play baseball in a field. They go. Now, if 9 kids want to go play and another 9 show up, well, they might have to rent it. So, but that's how it is on the books now. So we can't just arbitrarily say right now, we don't know, we don't know right now. This is not where we're at. But we're going to sit down and we're going to come up with amendments to the ordinances and whatever else.
Mr. President, I'm gonna be straight with y'all with this project, but man, if people from the parish can't use this facility as a public facility free of charge, I'm not saying you can't charge for events. I'm not saying that. But the people of this parish should be able to use that facility free of charge. Now, you want to have a special event? I have no problem with that. And you can have days for people going and play in there and days for when you have special events. But this notion where it's a profit thing,
No, nobody.
the public don't get served.
I don't want to call a question on this thing because we're getting way out of line. But Mr. Henry, I'm telling you, we're going to work on that right now. We're going to work on it as soon as it gets underway. It's everybody's intention to allow our citizens to be able to utilize our facilities free of charge. There's no doubt about it. It's not a YMCA. It's not a private building. This is 100%. That's why we're doing it, because we want something finally in this parish that the parish owns, that we own, and we can say, you know what? We have a basketball facility. We have a multi-purpose center. But we do have to put limitations when it comes to special events, when it comes to team events, when it comes to outside entities. So let us write the legislation, but I can't just sit here and promise you that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can go in there and play basketball.
I don't expect that.
But there will be times that the public can go. But just let us get to that point so we can do the legislation like it should be done.
We heard that, I hate to go back in, but we heard that same deal with the YMCA.
Did you hear it from me?
No, I heard it from Mr. Gouy, and that's why I'm trying to get it straight now. Mr. Gouy said, hey, you know what, it was going to cost $1 to go to the YMCA. That changed, my brother. So I just want to make sure that is not done no more. Mr. President, you in charge of it, and I'm going to hold you to the fire for the people, my brother.
Go ahead, Mr. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. And I think would this be deemed satisfactory to you? The idea I have is that if we could have one maintenance employee for this pavilion and facility and have them check the Plaquemines resident status. And that would be my proposal to this council, that someone just checked residential status. As long as they live in Plaquemines, they play free. Naturally, the location of this thing, and I understand Councilman Black's concern, the location of this thing to adjoining parish, but I think that any issues there, if you live in this parish, you pay taxes, you get to use it free. And that would be my proposal to the council, Mr. Henry.
That's under operations and management, which we haven't even got to. And I totally agree with you, Mr. Cormier. And that's something that I would love to sit there and work with union administration on and the rest of the council members to come up with. But that's operations and management. That's way outside of where we're at this one.
Would that be acceptable?
Call it.
Question. I'd like to call a question.
Thank you.
Question has been called. Machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0. Next item.
F, a resolution appointing a replacement member to the Plaquemines Parish Government Civil Service Commission for the position left vacant by Mr. Cornell Smith, whose term expired, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Yes, I'd like to offer filling in the blank on line 16 with the name Earl Sino, S-I-N-O. And with that insertion, I'll offer this resolution. Can I get a second? Seconded by Ms. Salvant, Mr. Bartholomew, and someone else. Any questions or comments from the table? Mr. Burt?
Yes. Who is this gentleman again?
His name is Earl Sino. He is currently he would be the representative for Mr. Bartholomew's area. He is a teacher at South Plaquemines High School. He also has an extensive history in EMS. He's teaching like medical certifications and things of that nature with the school board. Mr. Bartholomew, I can let you elaborate a little bit more.
Was he interviewed?
Yeah.
No, it's the first I've heard of his name.
Well, we had a meeting with the captain.
Who had a meeting? I wasn't invited to.
I wasn't either, but Mr.
Well, anyway, I mean, we did, but y'all was kept passing, and I figured y'all was in a hurry.
Actually, I wasn't here. So
Yeah, you
no,
were
I'm
here.
going to support the legislation. I just want to go on record that I was never invited to a civil service meeting.
You were here, weren't you here Monday, Tuesday,
No,
Wednesday?
sir. No.
I thought I saw you outside when I was talking to Mr.
Okay. You have
Black.
something else, Mr. Bartholomew?
No, question.
Okay, question has been called. Machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0. Yes. Next item, please.
G, a resolution appointing a replacement member to the Plaquemines Parish Government Civil Service Commission for the position left vacant by Deanna L. Jurasich, whose term expired, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer this resolution inserting on line 16 the name Mary Faye Legnon, Legnon. Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions or comments from the table? The audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Libraries Department and to amend the Library Services Fund 2018 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Libraries Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. This comes from this is a donation that the library is receiving. It's a $200 donation from Numa Hero III. Any questions or comments from the table? Audience? Hearing none, machine is open. $200 donation to the libraries.
There's 2 votes pending.
Well, John, one.
1 vote pending.
Legislation passes 8-0. Mr. Bartholomew's left the meeting. Next item, please.
A resolution expressing the Plaquemines Parish Council's support of PPL 28 Buras Boat Harbor Marsh Creation Increment 1 project and to request CPRA incorporate this project for consideration for the CWPPRA PPL 28 program for the year 2018 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Roussel. You offer?
I'll offer.
Mr. Roussel offers. I'll second. Mr. Roussel?
Yes, this is the project that Mr. Ragus had brought before us at the last meeting. This is a marsh creation project that protects the back levee south of the Buras Boat Harbor, and simply put, it's a request for CPRA to incorporate this and allow Quipper to possibly fund this project for the future.
I just want to let the record reflect Mr. Roussel's offering this legislation. It's in my district, but he represents us with the CPRA. So.
And having said that, the CPRA, the Coastal Zone Advisory Board for Plaquemines Parish has reviewed the project, and they're on board with this project as a recommendation.
Any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? Hearing none, machine is open. It ain't CPRA. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan drainage good news project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Roussel?
I'll offer next a second.
Mr. Roussel offers. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Mr. Roussel?
Yes, this is a drainage project for the Good News area. This project was bid. It came in overbid. The administration worked to secure the additional funding from Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and so now we're ready to move forward with it. So we're appropriating the money into the project so that we are all familiar with what we're doing with that grant money.
So this is 2.3 million, correct?
It's
HMGP?
Correct. It's $2,357,712 from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Project to the Drainage Good News Project, which we've had problems over the years with Good News flooding. This is to solve that problem. This will be a pump station that will be put on the back side of the drainage servitude that will drain into Bayou Barrier and allow the street to hopefully remain dry or somewhat dry, whereas sometimes we'd had 2 feet of water on Good News. So this will take care of that flooding of the street. It'll be on the servitude behind Good News.
Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Council Secretary Department, and the 5-year Capital Improvements Plan, Government Complex Council Building Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt? Mr. Burt offers. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Burt?
Yes, this is the $20,000 transfer to the Secretary's budget to finalize the security and card swipe system for this complex. That's all.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the table? Audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
A resolution expressing the sense of the Parish Council that the proposed construction and operation of a liquefied natural gas facility by Venture Global Plaquemines LNG, LLC, is and would be a permitted use under the Plaquemines Parish Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance and otherwise to file with respect thereto.
Mr. Byrd?
Yeah,
You offer? You offer? You want to discuss? Or? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to co-author this with Councilmember Salvant. This is actually in her district, but since I'm the port chairman, I got involved as a result of a meeting we had in Washington, D.C. So as a courteous to Ms. Salvant, I would like to co-sponsor this legislation with her, and we will ask for a second.
Okay, co-chaired by Ms. Salvant and Mr. Byrd, seconded by Mr. Roussel. Mr. Byrd?
Yeah, I would just briefly make a statement, and Ms. Salvant wants to speak, she can do so as well. Basically, this ordinance or this legislation is to ratify a letter that was drafted by the parish attorney as well as the zoning board, just giving Venture Global a sense of security as far as their zoning ordinance and that their project is allowed in that zoning district. So this is just more of a kind of a feel-good for them to let them know that what they are going to build is allowed in that zoning district, and this council supports those efforts. And if Ms. Salvant wants to add anything.
It's just a concerted effort on our part to support the LNG. So.
Okay. Mr. Lapine, you have something?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I apologize.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year Capital Improvements Plan, upgrade Arlington Park project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Salvant? You offer? Oh, let me cut you on. I'm sorry. Offered by Ms. Salvant, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, consider it as read. The legislation speaks for itself. It's just that I'm moving funding around within my budget.
Any questions or comments from the table? God bless you. From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. 7A1.
Introductions of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought. A resolution requesting a local bill be filed on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Council in the 2018 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature relative to the acquisition of reversionary interest in certain property in Plaquemines Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe, you offer for the suspension? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Edgecombe offers this to suspend the rules to vote on this today. I'll second. Machine is open, voting on suspension. Suspension passes 8-0. Ms. Barber, you want to read again so we can vote?
A resolution requesting a local bill be filed on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Council in the 2018 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature relative to the acquisition of reversionary interest in certain property in Plaquemines Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe?
All for amendment read.
Seconded by Ms. Edgecombe. Offer seconded by Ms. Salvant. Mr. Edgecombe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What this is basically going to help clarify the ownership of the land that was donated to the parish, which is in reference to the Jesuit Bend Park in Jesuit Bend. If anybody has any other questions, I would like to defer to Mr. Garrett for any answers.
Anyone has any questions or comments from the table? Wait, Ms. Audrey, let me put you on. Go ahead.
I think you're referring to the park as Jesuit Bend Park. That's
Judge Perez Park.
Yeah,
Sorry,
because
no.
that's going to be my next comment, that I think that this council should take action in renaming that park after we become sole owners of that park.
Not a problem, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the table, the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. 7B.
Update and presentation by District 7, Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Ms. Salvant?
Yes, we're going to defer that because it was addressed in President's update.
Okay, that item is deferred. Mr. Bartholomew is going to ask me to defer 7C. 7D.
Status update on privatization of emergency medical services in Plaquemines Parish.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, we had a meeting last week. I'm not sure if we want to elaborate on that, Mr. Cormier.
Yes, Councilman Black, the letter you requested to be sent to Acadia and was sent.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. I think, Mr. Russo, if you want to elaborate any more on the meeting that you had, or we want to just...
Well, I'd like to elaborate, but there's some confidential negotiating being made, and so we're waiting to see what the outcome will be between the parties that are negotiating, and it's not us. So,
Well, it sounds like we have some traction, so that's all we're really at.
we have some movement, but I'd rather let them work out their arrangement, and then we'll see where we go from here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so you want to defer this and leave it on there? Or
Yeah,
you
defer it, and we'll just keep it until we'll get a resolution.
That item is deferred. 7E.
Update on advanced electronic water meter reading, Councilmember Roussel.
Yes, I'd like to know when this proposal to the engineering firm will be sent to them so they can go and move forward.
I believe, I don't see the chief engineer, Mr. Ken Dugas, but I did have a conversation, and they are working with the RFP tailoring the one, I think it was the city of Mandeville, tailoring it for our needs.
So we engaged the engineering firm to go ahead and update the
Yes.
RFQ. So you're going to send that to them and get them on board. Thank you very much.
Are you taking it off the agenda?
No, I'll leave it on just
Defer.
for the hell of it.
7F.
District 8 update, Councilmember Edgecombe.
Mr. Edgecombe?
Madam Chair, President Cormier, do you have any insight or any information on the Jesuit Bend sinkholes? What Mr. Dugas had planned on doing with that?
Councilman Edgecombe, our engineer Ken Dugas is not here. I'll have him, I'll send a text and have him get
If you
on that.
would also, while you got him on the phone, also to find out why they quit working on the recreation park in Empire. It's come to a screeching halt.
Okay.
Same reason
I-
why ACP Park, I guess.
The other thing I had was the boat harbor, which Mr. Bachelor and myself, we talked about that before the meeting, so I'm good with that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay. Item 8,
Approval of minutes from the February 8, 2018 meeting.
Offer.
I'll offer. Second. Mr. Edgecombe seconds. Machine is open.
Motion.
Mr. Ed, the minutes are approved 8-0. Mr. Edgecombe makes a motion to adjourn the meeting. I'll second along with my colleagues. Machine is open. Eight to 0, meeting is adjourned at 4:55 PM.
Yeah.